This past weekend, the new season of Liga F in Spain kicked off, and while Barcelona are still considered the favorites, their busy off-season has made things interesting for the upcoming year. Now, in this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the big questions surrounding Liga F as we head into the 2025-26 season. So the first big question is, will Barcelona's player departures in the summer affect their dominance? Now, Barcelona head into this season in a bit of an unusual position. So because of financial fair play and the club's decision to prioritize the men's team and investing in the men's team, the women's team has had to make some sacrifices. And so we ended up seeing a bunch of contracts being terminated in the summer. Other contracts were just left to expire. And now we have a situation where Barcelona has a lot less players than we're used to seeing. And so they're most likely going to have to fill the numbers with players from their B team. So naturally, people are asking the question, are we finally going to see Barcelona fall from the top because of all of this news? I think to answer that question, you do have to look at the context and look at the players who have left and the players who they still have on their team. If we think about the players that have left, I would say Fridolina Rolfo and Ingrid Engen are the two players they will miss the most, just based on the fact that those were the two players that had the most playing time, and then followed by Yana Fernandez, who's part of their academy and was a player who also was basically like a squad player. So she also had big minutes. But if we talk about Ingrid Engen, she already wanted to leave. So this was the last year of her contract. And actually last year during the January transfer window, she actually wanted to leave and go to Lyon, but Barcelona rejected that offer, and so she stayed. So regardless of this financial fair play issues, I think Engen was already out the door. And then you've got Rolfo. Now, Rolfo was actually a bit of a surprise. She still had one more year left on her contract to 2026, but we were all shocked during the Euro Cup when Barcelona one day announced that they had terminated her contract. We've now since seen that she has signed with Manchester United. So that was a bit of a shock because we were expecting at least one more year of Rolfo. However, again, if we look at the context, her role at Barcelona had definitely decreased over the past season, with Esme Brutes being more prioritized on the left back and the left back position. And so again, although Rolfo is a loss, when you consider a loss for the depth on the bench, she's not a significant loss in terms of a player who was starting every game, because she wasn't. And then, as I mentioned, there was Yana Fernandez, who was a very similar situation where she was more of a squad player. So again, a loss in terms of depth, but not a loss in terms of who you would have been playing and starting every game. And then the other players that left was Bruna Villamala and Martina Fernandez, who were both on loan last year. So they were players who were not part of Barcelona's long-term planning. And then Ellie Robach, of course, the English goalkeeper who only joined last season and only played in like a handful of games. And so when you look at it like that, you can see that the players that they lost, while it will have a bit of an impact, it won't have the largest impact, because of the 17 players that they do have, they've still got Alexia Putellas, they still got Bonmati, they still got Pina and Payor and Patry and Paredes and Leon and Napi Leon, Brutes, all of these players, Kika. So they've still kept their best players. And it was mentioned about 2 weeks ago that the team was pushing to finalize the contract extensions for Pina and Kata Call, the goalkeeper. So clearly, they do have money to keep the players that they want to keep. The players that they're letting go, it seems like they were a bit more expendable. And so I think that's what a lot of people are starting to look at and consider, that maybe management feels that if you keep your core 17 players strong, that is good enough to compete in Liga F. And they most likely think it's good enough to compete in Champions League. And then you save money with the rest of the squad by using B team players. But still, it will be interesting to see how they're impacted, because if they just happen to go through a bad run of injuries, they're not going to have a lot of depth behind those 17 players. And so I think that's where they will most be impacted if they have to deal with injuries. Now, the second big question is kind of related, but it has to do with Real Madrid. And that is, will Real Madrid take advantage of what we're seeing happen with Barcelona and finally catch up and pass them in the table? Now, it's no secret that Barcelona dominates Liga F over the past 14 seasons. So since 2011, Barcelona have won 10 Liga F titles, including the last 6 seasons in a row. But look, that's not necessarily unique to Liga F. Chelsea has won 6 titles in a row. Lyon have won 18 of the last 19. Bayern have won 4 of the last 5. So it's pretty common to see in Europe one team dominate for several years in a row. But I think what stands out with Barcelona in particular is just how much they are winning the league by. So, in the past 6 seasons that Barcelona has won the league, they have won by an average of 15 points. Yes, 15 points ahead of whoever finishes in second place, meaning they are securing the league with several weeks still to play. Just sheer utter dominance. And in the case of Real Madrid, this is a team who's finished in second for the past 3 straight years. Obviously, it has not been easy, but last season was the first season where they were within the closest range. They finished 8 points behind Barcelona, which is much better than the 24 points they finished behind Barcelona just a few years ago. And in addition to only finishing 8 points behind Barcelona, they finally defeated them in the league, something that had never happened before. And so if that isn't a sign that Real Madrid is getting a little bit closer, I don't know what is. This is also a team that continues to make signings every year. This summer is no different. They brought in Sarah Debritz and Mirla Franz, 2 German players. And the year before that, they brought in Alba Redondo and Maria Mendez from Levante, Philippa Angeldal. So they've been making moves every year to try and get better. And so I think that their ability to defeat Barcelona last year will give them a bit of confidence, because they finally got that like monkey off their back. And so I think they this year, this is their chance to try and catch up. And pass Barcelona, or at the very least win a trophy, maybe win a domestic trophy from one of the cups that happen in their league. So for my third question, it's related to the other Madrid in the league, and that is Atletico Madrid. Now, the reason I bring them up is because this team has finished in the top 4 for the past 6 seasons. So Atletico Madrid is actually quite interesting, because in the mid 2010s, they were the team that was actually kind of on top and dominating. Between 2016 and 2019, they won League F 3 straight years. And then ever since 2019-20, it's been Barcelona that have won every year after that. But even still, in those past 6 seasons, Atletico Madrid has stayed around the top, finishing at least in the top 4, including finishing 3rd for the past 2 seasons in a row. Now, unfortunately, when you look at the table, they've finished quite a ways back behind Real Madrid. I think they finished 18 points behind 2 years ago, and then or last year, and then 2 years before that, they finished about 12 points behind. So it's very clear that there is a divide at the top, where it's Barcelona and Real Madrid, and then sort of the rest. But Atletico Madrid has clearly separated themselves as being the best of the rest. And so what are we going to see from them this season? Unfortunately, they did lose Ajabadi. She was recently announced as signing with Paris Saint-Germain. She's, of course, a big loss, because she was their top scorer last year. And over the 4 seasons she had with Atletico Madrid, she scored 40 goals. So obviously that is going to be a major loss for them. They're going to have to rely a lot on Gio, who is their second highest scorer to step up and help them. So I can't, if I had to put a prediction out, I can't see them finishing ahead of Real Madrid this season. I think they might end up finishing third again. But if you're an investor looking from the outside into Liga F and you're thinking about ways to make this league a bit more competitive and more interesting to watch, I feel like Atletico Madrid is the team that you should be looking at because they are right there. They've clearly, as I mentioned, separated themselves from the rest. And if you're trying to find ways to break up those top two teams in Barcelona and Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid is the team to target, invest, get them to sign some good players. Madrid is the capital, so it's obviously going to be nice to live there. I feel like it wouldn't be difficult to convince players to try and play there. But you need investment. And so that leads me into my last big question as we head into this new season, which is, can Liga F survive if only Barcelona and Real Madrid are doing the primary investing in their women's teams? I think this is a concern that a lot of people have been raising, especially this past summer. Many people are like, if even Barcelona is struggling to get their management to invest in their team and invest in their players, then what hope do the other teams have? And for me, it's particularly worrying because we've actually seen teams who were previously very competitive in the league now fall to basically irrelevance. Levante is a perfect case. Levante was a team that over the past 6 seasons, 4 out of those 6 seasons, they finished in third place. And then the other seasons, they finished in fourth, and then they finished in sixth. That was the lowest they finished, sixth in the last 6 seasons. This is a team that primarily went from finishing in third to last season finishing in 12th. Now, of course, if you're not familiar, Levante is a team who last season, I believe, their management came out and announced that they were going to be prioritizing their men's team who's playing in the second division. They wanted to put all of their efforts and money and investment into the men's team to get them promoted to La Liga, and therefore they would be pulling back their investment and their spending on the women's team. And so we saw many players leave. This includes Myra Ramirez, Alba Redondo, Maria Mendes, players that I mentioned before. And as a result, we've seen this team go from third place to 12th. I'm not necessarily saying that Liga F is going to fold, but I do hope that we start to see some more investment. I made a video about Michelle Kang, and I mentioned in that video that she was actually interested in investing in Levante Barcelona, which is another Levante team. And for whatever reason, it didn't go through. I do remember there were a lot of fans who were complaining they didn't want that because, of course, Michelle Kang is a multi-club owner. But if Michelle Kang is the difference between a team staying up, existing, and potentially thriving versus completely being relegated and being irrelevant, I would kind of prefer the Michelle Kang option, even if that might be a minority opinion. I would prefer that than them just being completely relegated and forgotten. Bottom line is, Liga F is a league that has a team in Barcelona who's won 3 of the last 5 Champions League. Liga F is in a country that won the Women's World Cup in 2023. And what you would hope to have seen is them sort of ride the wave of this success, invest all of their energy and money into Liga F to make it a league that is much more popular, profitable, and competitive. Kind of similar to the wave we saw after England won the Euros and how that impacted the WSL. We just haven't quite seen that with Liga F, which is really unfortunate because they've got some amazing, talented players playing in that league. And it's really important that they don't take that talent that they have for granted, or else we might see some more players leave the league. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. As always, like the video, leave some comments down below, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye.